Philip,
You just break my. What the hell?
for
Yeah.
I'll just have to hold it, I guess. I don't think that's gonna stay.
We can hear him whacking it right now. What's up, everybody? My name's Corey.
I'm Wyatt.
Welcome back to Go-Go-Godzilla, the series where we go through every single Godzilla movie in the franchise to find out which one truly is king of them all.
Yeah, and today we're gonna go back to 2021 and go over Godzilla versus Kong.
Nice. Nice.
Kind of follow the same formula we've been doing, just kind of some personal history and thoughts. If there's any nostalgia with the movies, I guess with this one, I don't have so much nostalgia with it, but I do have kind of an interesting, funny story. Like when I went to go see this, I was living in Arkansas at this point in time, so I had to go see it by myself, and I had to drive 45 minutes to the nearest theater to go see it, which was a little rinky-dink, not great theater.
Oh.
And I got there and I prepaid, but I had to download my ticket or print my ticket out at the theater. Like I had to do it myself on a little computer in the corner of the theater room on this little cheap mouse. So I had to go over there and like scan the QR code on my phone, and then it printed out an actual ticket. Uh, and then I went into the theater, sat there, and I waited a few minutes. I was maybe 10 minutes early or whatever. And then right when the movie was getting ready to start, this guy was getting kicked out by the theater staff because he was trying to sit in a handicap spot in which there was a handicapped person trying to sit in. And then he made a big scene right as the beginning of the movie was happening. So that was a bit distracting. But that's about all I got for like memories with this movie. Really, there was excitement, leading up to it, of course, but that's kind of what sticks out to me when I think about history.
Yeah.
Movie, so.
Yeah, I can't say my in theater experience was as interesting as that, but and as obviously the word nostalgia might be a bit strong for this one since it is so new and definitely not one we grew up with. But I definitely look back at it fondly because like you were in Arkansas at the time, and I guess my little bit of funny story is you lived in Arkansas at the time, but you had texted me like, hey, we should go see this together.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Right, and then I was like, yeah, absolutely, we should definitely look into that. That'd be cool, especially because as many people will remember, this is like coming off of COVID, so like this was kind of really one of the first movies back in the theater. And I was like, awesome, yeah, I'm totally down. Let's figure that out. And we like figured out, the day. I think we saw it the Wednesday it came out, and it turns out I thought Wyatt was gonna like be up here, was gonna be up here, and then like it turns out your suggestion was like, no, let's just go watch it at the same time, and we'll like text about it afterwards, which was cool. But I was like, oh, I'm gonna go see it with my friend, and then I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And, like then we bought tickets, and definitely, yeah. So that was funny. But yeah, seeing it in the theater, I had a great time by myself, essentially. And I liked the movie. Yeah, I guess first initial thoughts of I still like this movie. I still think it's pretty entertaining. Um, I think there's definitely some of the probably the worst human characters, human cast. Something kind of been a consistent complaint of ours with all these movies.
Yeah.
And we kind of mentioned Kong Skull Island has a cast that we love. Godzilla King of the Monsters we think definitely started to fix the issues of like 2014 and all that. And this is just slides right. And then I think because we've already talked about Godzilla X Kong, we liked the cast in that one too. But Godzilla vs Kong slid right back into the terrible part. Some of my least favorite characters, but some of probably the best action in the series, I would say for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely agree. The cast is not great. I know Bernie is in this as well as GSK, and like I don't really like him in this movie. I think he's kind of annoying. He has some funny parts.
Yeah.
I still like Millie Bobby Brown's character a lot, and I like Dr. Andrews. I think she's a fun character.
Mm-hmm.
Alexander Skarsgård. I can't think of his character's name, but I enjoyed him. Not my favorite, but I like him
Hmm.
as an actor, so like I enjoy seeing him on the screen.
Yeah. Okay. And
Um,
mhm.
but outside of that, like yeah, I mean, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed it. I've only seen this movie twice actually. The initial in theater experience, and then when we just watched it this evening.
Uh-huh.
Um, I liked it more than I thought I did. I liked it more than I remembered having liked it. So that was cool.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of less than desirable
Yeah.
stuff that's like time spent in this movie that I just could do without. You
Yeah.
know, like I know I kind of I don't know. I think it's a fun movie, but it's definitely not as fun as GXK. So yeah, so I guess we'll start kind of the more spoilery, specific scene talk of the movie.
Hmm.
Yeah, like I said, I don't. There's not like a ton in between all the giant monster fights that I find like worth talking about
Yeah.
personally. Like I think there's a lot of boring time in this movie. Um, the characters
Yeah.
don't do much to like make me excited about what's happening, minus seeing the monsters on screen.
Yeah.
Uh, there's not any like exciting speeches or anything that I can really remember.
Yeah.
I think the and I'm sorry, I can't remember the little deaf girl's name. The
Gia.
Gia. Gia. I enjoy the stuff with her when she's on screen.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think her interactions with Kong and just how it kind of goes in and out of like her, you know, being deaf, and we hear things through her perspective, and then it kind of transitions back to what everyone else is hearing. That's cool.
Hmm.
But yeah, outside of that, like I'm kind of bored with the movie until like something happens with monsters on screen.
Yeah. Yeah. I would. I definitely agree. I do like how the movie. I do kind of like how the movie opens. You know, we get a shot of like a glimpse of like it opens up on Skull Island, and Kong waking up, and you get kind of his morning routine
Yeah,
there, and I like that. And I did like kind of the reveal that as he throws the stick into the LED wall after speaking with Gia a little bit, who uh, as they communicate, and then he throws the stick into the giant LED wall. Uh, I think is a very was kind of a interesting way to start the opening, which is admit it's kind of fitting that it was Kong waking up because this is overall kind of a very sleepy first act, I would say.
yeah.
I do want to give a special shout out. We talked about in Kong Skull Island the opening credits. Uh, this is actually probably my favorite opening title
Oh
sequence
yeah.
because I do like kind of getting the little history of the I guess how they found Hollow Earth and all that and all that. But like, I specifically love how it slowly morphs into the files of all the different Titans, but the files morphs into a tournament bracket of Kong and Godzilla kind of running through all these different monsters to meet each other in the middle. I thought was a really
Right.
clever and cool concept. And then with the actual title treatment, I love the logo and everything. But yeah, plot wise, it's a very slow start. Very like there's really nothing I think super remarkable in the first act except for something I did think was really cool. This is actually the first time we really get like a Godzilla rampage scene of
That's true.
he attacks Pensacola, Florida, because he attacks this Apex facility because he senses some kind of, they don't know why. It's later revealed he sensed some kind of energy that turns out to be later in the movie Mecha Godzilla. He was attacking Pensacola, Florida, and I don't know why I'm focusing. I just thought it was so weird that it was Pensacola. It just seems like of all of the cities that they've had in this series, Pensacola, Florida, just seems the most like random to
Yeah,
me.
yeah, it does.
Um, but it was cool to see God having a legitimate rampage scene from Godzilla. It didn't last very long. It wasn't very involved,
Right.
but it was cool to see. Just to rifle through some of the plot lines here is like uh, the bad guys. Who one of them is uh, Dr. Serizawa's son. Serizawa, I don't know his first name. That they don't really call too much attention to him as a character,
Not
which
really,
I
no.
don't know why. I actually did read a little bit into this, where I guess the what I saw was Adam Wingard did end up mentioning at some point like that he just knew this character wasn't going to get a lot of screen time, so he kind of felt it was better to have like a little bit of a I guess mystery to the character, so that people from what I assume,
Hmm.
just like so people can kind of form their own story and plot line.
Hmm. Which is an interesting take. I feel like
Uh huh.
because like there's seems like so much story that could have been had with that character because it is Dr. Serizawa's son, and
Yeah.
there's, I mean, he's becoming the antithesis to Dr. Serizawa in a sense. So like, there's so much that could have been done with that
Yeah.
I think that they just kind of like let go to the wayside for the sake of mystery, which is kind of silly in a way. You know, like I don't know.
Yeah.
I just wish there was more with that character. I guess kind of like
Hmm.
King of the, or not, yeah, King of the Monsters. I wish there were a little bit more depth to the human villains. I don't know why. I just wish there was a little bit more
Yeah, I definitely don't
with
just.
time with them.
Yeah, I definitely don't disagree. So yeah, kind of the long short of their plot, I guess, is that they're trying to get to I guess find the path to Hollow Earth to get some kind of energy source to you think to create sustainable energy for the surface world, but it's actually to fuel what again later is revealed to Mechagodzilla, to be Mechagodzilla, and this is when we get introduced to like I guess the main character, um, Alexander Skarsgård. I forget his doctor's name. I got to be honest. I know you said you like him. This is my least favorite character in the series. Like, this guy is so uninteresting to me. He doesn't do anything at all compelling to me
Yeah.
in this whole movie. We mentioned Gia. Like, Gia is probably my favorite human in the movie, just because she's kind of the only one human that is doing consistently interesting things. Like, I think the idea of the relationship between her and Kong is actually pretty interesting, and I do like that we get more of it in the future sequel of GXK.
Yeah.
I'm so glad this character does not follow through on GXK. Like again, and like every time, like it doesn't feel like he has a character arc. It doesn't feel like he is, he's said to be this like Hollow Earth expert, but then even then he doesn't really seem to know a lot about Hollow Earth. He doesn't really seem to understand Titans.
Right.
Like I just there's nothing like, and it's not just him. There's several characters in this movie I just don't fucking care about. You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah. No,
mean?
seriously.
Like worse than any of the other movies. Like that's definitely that. This is definitely in terms of like I know I went pretty hard in on this on Godzilla 2014 on the characters. It's
Mm-hmm.
but this one's even worse because like that didn't even have Godzilla 2014 disappointed me because it starts out so strongly. This doesn't even feel like it has a start to it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I totally agree. And like to go on the character rampage a little bit further, like they really just, I don't know, they didn't carry, they carried Millie Bobby Brown forward, but that's the only continuation of the character that we've had that I can think of really. I mean, her dad Mark is in the movie for like all of 2 minutes maybe and says like three things,
Yeah.
which is kind of unfortunate because like I wanted to see more of that character. Um, I don't know. I just think like we kind of like we talked about before. Like if you continue those story threads, like it gives you something to kind of like be invested in with the story, and they just keep throwing new characters at the wall, hoping someone sticks, and it just like it's not. I don't know. At that point, it wasn't sticking, and I think there was potential there with that one, and they just kind of let it go. So like at that point, with such a dull start, like I am just kind of like waiting around to
Yeah.
see some kind of a big monster throw something or run through a building or something, which
Yeah.
is kind of disappointing. Uh, but
Well, and I mean, it's not just that it's disappointing. It's just how long we like. I didn't time it this time, um, but it's like a good 30 minutes after that Godzilla. Like
mm-hmm.
other than that initial Godzilla attack, which again was very cool, and I want to give my props there. It wasn't until like probably another like 30 or 40 minutes into the movie that we actually get the first action. So like pretty much this is all to set up that they need Kong to guide them to I guess a gate to Hollow Earth,
Mm-hmm.
and that they've like developed a vehicle to get to Hollow Earth. This is where we actually get the setup of what I think is cool because I think it's a shout out to the original Godzilla versus King Kong of you get Kong strapped to the boat,
Yeah,
slightly sedated,
yeah,
is one of like three very obvious shout outs to the OG.
mm-hmm.
film, which I think is really cool. And I do really. This is actually where we lead to probably my favorite human interaction of this movie, specifically of Gia checking on Kong, kind of like while it's raining, um, and having the like communicating with him, and that's where Doctor Adler, I think in Anders.
Andrews.
Andrews. Okay, yeah. I think Adler's. We just talked about that. Adler's from Jurassic Park, I think. Anyways, Rebecca Hall. That's what I'm just gonna call her.
Yeah, that works.
She, is like, wait, hold on. She finds out that Gia's been talking to Kong this whole time, and I think that was actually a pretty cool reveal.
Yeah.
I will say this in terms of monkeys using sign language. I just watched Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and I thought, man, I'd much rather be watching that movie than this right now during that scene. But it is still a pretty cool reveal.
Damn, got him.
But and this also leads to kind of the first interaction, not kind of, it is the first interaction between Godzilla versus Kong. And you get, I love the introduction of it, it's like while Alexander Skarsgård and Rebecca Hall are talking about what's happening, or that she can speak with Kong. Gia is the one who feels the present, almost like the spiritual presence of Godzilla.
Yeah.
What did you think about that?
Oh, I thought it was awesome. I love it. Like I don't know. It was so cool how like she just puts her hand on. It's like she can sense something and then puts her hand on the wall and like gets, I guess, the vibration of probably Godzilla's roar is what she's picking up on, and that's cool. And then all the sensors on the ship start going off and the alarms go off and stuff. And that is probably my favorite. I don't know. That is one of, if not my favorite scenes in the whole movie. Not that scene specifically of her picking up on that, but the whole.
Oh yeah.
Their initial like introduction to each other and the whole, the fight across all the boats and in the water, and I don't know. It was really cool how it's all built up, and there's just it's a unique fight to have them fight across different boats, and then them to just kind of like, okay, we gotta play dead. We gotta be a possum for a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Like I think it is a really cool, like I think a strong first fight, because like I think you're in the theater, or like whenever you're watching this movie for the first time, you're kind of like, well, obviously Kong's fucked. Because he's this is water, this is Godzilla's his habitat. But I love that you kind of get like, this does a really good job of showcasing that like Kong is crafty. He knows like even if he's down, like he can see how to like jumping from boat to boat to kind of like catch up to Godzilla, or literally grabbing a jet before it launches and throwing it at Godzilla. I thought was a really clever or kind of interesting move there. Yeah, like I said, I think the choreography and the character work, somewhat for like two giant monsters is actually a really cool fight to see.
And when Godzilla comes up on the aircraft carrier and Kong, pops him in, and Godzilla hits him back, and then Kong, that interaction, that exchange of blows is awesome.
Yeah, which going back to a conversation we've had in these other movies is the scale. Like the scale definitely goes away in this movie. It definitely is starting to give away to just two awesome fights. Awesome fights between these giant monsters, and I am ultimately fine with that, because there is enough of it that you just feel like these are two giant monsters slugging at each other. And and I love that, even like the moment of like Godzilla dragging Kong to like the depths, and having Kong needing to get rescued from the using depth charges is what they use to get Kong out of trouble there. And I even love like a little bit of the scene of like, we get the classic Godzilla stereotype of fighter jets coming in to fight him and immediately getting obliterated. I do love that, because I think ultimately that's the first time we saw Godzilla have to fight fighter jets.
I think so.
And which is surprising, because that's such a hallmark of the classic, Toho series. yeah, the scene was awesome. It looked awesome.
Mhm.
I was actually really impressed with like all the, I guess like the water um, special effects and like the CGI, and it's like it had a very nice like texture to it.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, it was a very strong fight. And then I love the end of it where, yeah, they're playing dead, and you just get that nasty shot of Godzilla
Yeah. In
of
the
in the
fire.
fire, and he just scowls like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
It's probably that's probably one of my favorite shots in the movie, specifically that one too. That, and once this scene ends, it pretty much, uh, I guess, kind of goes into the next bit with like Millie Bobby Brown and them.
Yeah.
I forget what happens because all those scenes kind of meld together.
They do kind of meld together. I think that is around the point when they get to where they're trying to break into Apex,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they end up on the shuttle, which I did have a note about that, which I thought was kind of silly. Like, would they not have like a camera on these shipments or something? Like, they just went from
yeah.
where were they at?
The,
Florida? No,
Pensacola.
was that in Pensacola?
Yeah, I'm
That
pretty
was
sure.
okay. They went from there all the way to Hong Kong,
Yeah,
and then like no one knew they were on that like transport thing. And this God knows how expensive like thing. Which I know
yeah,
that could just be like, well, this is so secret that we don't expect anyone to find it, so why would we bother putting a camera on
yeah,
it? But also like, this is really expensive stuff. Maybe we should put a camera
yeah.
on
So
it.
kind of, yeah. It's definitely like
I don't
a
know.
lot of definitely a lot of leaps in logic here.
Which
Uh,
is okay, I guess, to
yeah.
an extent. It is a Godzilla movie, but
Yeah,
it's still kind of
you know,
funny.
absolutely. You know, like I'm definitely not gonna be a stickler for yeah, I guess the logic or anything like that. I do want to give a shout out because like I know you said some of his lines were like for the most part he was annoying, but some of his, I do think Brian Tyree Henry, I think who plays Bernie actually does a pretty good job for like what he's given. Like I did
Yeah,
kind of go back. I love his introduction of like, you know, he's infiltrating Apex, but it turns out he's just a like custodian,
right. Yeah.
and then he annoys the,
Hold on.
and I like that he annoys his way into getting like the information and infiltrating the facility. He annoys the guy. So I did enjoy him.
Yeah.
One of my notes actually I made is that I already told you about this. That everybody in this movie uh, is known for being awesome in something else.
Yeah.
Like Brian Tyree Henry, he's also in, you know, he's great in Atlanta if you've ever seen it. He's awesome in Bullet Train.
Yeah.
He's the probably my favorite part of the Eternals, which is not saying much, but he's in Eternals.
Yeah.
And then you go Alexander Skarsgård in the same year as this, right? He's in the Northman, which he kills it in the Northman. Northman or Northman?
I think Northman.
Northman.
No, wait,
Uh,
man, I don't know. Was that
uh,
the same? That wasn't the same year, was it?
that's 2021. Was Northman 2022?
I'm pretty sure because I was living here.
Here.
Yeah,
Oh.
in this house when I went to go see
Well, he was in the Northman,
it.
and he's awesome in that. You know, you got and then actually the other fat kid, I forget his name.
Oh,
I
the
don't
guy from
want to
Deadpool.
identify him as, yeah. He's from Deadpool 2. He's also in one of Taika Waititi's movie, I think Hunt for the Wildebeest. I forget the name of it. I'm butchering a lot of names right now, but yeah, he's great in other movies too. Like Millie Bobby Brown, obviously, is great in Stranger Things. Like everybody in this movie is better in something else. You got Kyle Chandler from Friday Night Lights. You got Lance Reddick from John Wick,
Yeah.
who has 2 lines in this movie. Um, yeah, I'd just much rather watch a lot of other movies right now. But so going from there, I guess what other scenes do you want to talk about before we get to the?
I guess I would kind of just like to give a shout out to Hollow Earth. I just think the
Yeah,
design of Hollow Earth is really cool. Um, it feels very like it makes me think of like I've used this terminology before like a lot. I feel but it kind of makes me feel like being a little kid and like watching dinosaur stuff and just like the colors, the color palette with it, and just like how big everything feels, and it's kind of like just unique feeling. It
yeah,
just made me feel like I was watching something about dinosaurs when I was little. I don't know why, but that's the feeling I kind of got in a sense. But then I like the different creatures, and especially like the big snake, the winged snake thing,
yeah. That
whatever that thing's supposed to be called. But I think that's pretty cool. I like the design of it. It's a pretty unique looking monster, and I like
mhm.
how it kind of gets the better of Kong for a second, and then he just
Yeah.
absolutely like obliterates it and crushes it into the dirt.
Yeah, I think because don't the little like ships help him out?
Yeah,
They
they do.
should.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but like I do like the reveal of Hollow Earth. Like I'll be honest, for the longest time, I didn't know how I felt about Hollow Earth. Like I still don't know if I love Hollow Earth, but I
Right.
do like this scene. I think it's feels like a fucking fever dream
A little bit. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's like it goes from that awesome fight. And then you get the reveal of some of the other like wildlife, those like weird little stone crab things.
Yeah.
Um, and I do like that Kong immediately beheads the thing and continue, eats his head. Kind of the
Yeah.
theme of Kong likes, I guess,
Yeah. There's lots of
just
beheading and disemboweling
yeah, yeah.
in these movies.
And then you get the jump from like one gravitational pull to the other. That's like, uh, forgot about this. So this scene, when he's reaching out to touch the other like stone hand
Oh yeah.
thing. Um, the note I have is Kong's got cheeks because if you notice, for some reason, and there's a couple other scenes in the movie that's like this, but his butt cheeks are so perfectly defined in
Oh
that like for
no.
some reason my eyes just right to that monkey ass.
Oh no.
So so yeah, Kong's got cheeks for sure. Anyways, and then we obviously then get the reveal of I guess what is uh, Kong's ancestors' throne room,
Yeah.
which was pretty cool. Like he pushes open the doors and you get his I guess I don't know if now iconic. I don't know if you call it iconic, but uh, oh, also actually we totally skipped past the second reference to Godzilla versus King
Oh, we
Kong.
really did.
Yeah, the him being airlifted in the helicopter
Yeah.
by the net is again straight from Godzilla versus King Kong. When at the end of the original, I think they're transporting him to fight Godzilla at Mount Fuji.
I think so. Yeah.
I could be
Yeah.
wrong. So yeah, so that's one of two references. We'll get to
Yeah.
the third one later if you know it. Uh,
We'll see.
I'll quiz you on that one.
Oh god.
But but yeah, that was awesome. Getting back to it, yeah. Then you find his I guess now iconic ish axe made
Yeah.
of like I think it's like it seems like a spine of a Godzilla.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is it's pretty cool. I thought it was kind of dumb at first. I don't know why, but I think it's kind of cool now. I don't know. I
Yeah,
think seeing it again in GXK kind of made me like it a little bit more.
yeah,
Maybe just time. Maybe enjoy it a little bit more.
yeah.
But and that goes into one of my other favorite scenes of the movie, which is Godzilla like coming into Hong
Oh
Kong,
yeah.
really pissed off.
Oh
But I guess before I get to like him, blowing a hole in the earth, we get the reveal of Mechagodzilla, which
yeah,
is what leads him to Hong Kong.
yeah. And that scene is actually pretty
It
cool.
is
I would
pretty cool.
argue
Yeah.
because you get the like reveal of it's Millie Bobby Brown and that group uh, as they like come into this giant testing facility, and then this bay door opens and a giant skull crawler, the ones that they were like afraid of in Kong Skull Island, comes out, and just as they were about to get eaten, you get the reveal of Mechagodzilla, which I guess he was revealed before this, but Mechagodzilla comes alive and just obliterates this thing, and
Yeah.
it's super brutal. And I thought that was a really cool scene.
Yeah.
Thought it was a pretty cool reveal. They're like I would say I hated the way that Brian Tyree Henry goes, "What is this, a Robo Godzilla?"
Oh
And
yeah.
then that kid goes, "No, this is a Mecha Godzilla."
Yeah. I did not
And it's
enjoy
like,
that.
why would you immediately know the name of it?
Right.
And that scene leads to, I guess, Godzilla feeling the spiritual pressure of presence, or I should say, of another Titan on the Earth, and it leads him directly to Hong Kong. And one of the coolest visuals, as you just get his, his blue spikes, like are bright blue. He's already ready, charged for battle because he just doesn't know what the hell's going on. And
Yeah.
then you get him like crushing uh, crushing the bridge. And this is also when you get another bit of a rampage scene from Godzilla, which I think is really, really good in this movie. Like, is really good, or it's a really awesome moment in this series, this movie specifically. Sorry, kind of losing my train of thought there. Why don't you take it from me for a little bit here?
Yeah. And then like just the whole. I don't know. I like the whole like aesthetic of Hong Kong. It's very bright and fluorescent and lots of cool colors and stuff. Um, but then yeah, that he goes right into like blasting a hole in the earth,
Yeah,
and you know that happens to save some people down in Hollow Earth and
yeah,
the stuff going on with Kong and all that. But anyway, then it leads to the like their whole like face off looking down that giant hole and
yeah.
you know uh,
Would you think blowing a hole in the Earth's crust would have a much more catastrophic result?
yeah,
But I guess the science of Hollow Earth debate negates that.
I
I don't
guess
know,
so. Yeah,
but there's just something that's super fucking extra about Godzilla feeling Kong's presence and like the whatever he set off at in a Hollow Earth when he like clicks the axe, which turns out to be like some kind of key thing
yeah.
that turns something on. That turns out that was the energy they were looking for, and it pisses Godzilla off, and he literally blows a hole in the Earth's crust
Yeah,
to the very center and roars and like calls
it's
Kong out for
is
another fight.
so fucking cool.
It's
But that kind of leads to a scene that I think is kind of stupid. That like they get like the core sample
yeah.
of the energy source or whatever, and their little robot like decrypts it, decodes it, whatever you want to say, copies it, and then they just like copy and paste it to the Apex facility.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like all of a sudden like, yeah, we can replicate that, and then like in 5 minutes, like they have replicated this like energy source. Like, don't wasn't the whole purpose of the expedition to like get the physical energy source?
What? Yeah, I hate to tell you, brother, it's not that movie. It's not that
Yeah,
movie. It's not the movie.
but like they if they had just had the little robot like fly himself up out of the hole and go to the facility, I wouldn't even be bothered by it. But like I'm bothered by it.
Yeah, but I mean, this is also a movie that they say that like somehow they have created aircrafts that can go through Hollow Earth without having ever tested them. Also,
Yeah.
this is I'm sorry, it's not that movie. I thought it was stupid. I thought it was weirdly extra that you know why have the little robot? Why can't you just walk over and
I mean,
scoop some of it
that's
out?
a. But anyway, back to the fight.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, then that Kong ascends from darkness from
Yes.
Hollow Earth, and then my favorite scene in the whole movie happens when they have their Godzilla and Kong have their fight in Hong Kong,
Oh, yeah.
and it's by far the best scene in the movie. And
This might be my favorite fight scene in the whole in the Legendary series. It's so
it's
good
so good.
because I love that the like choreography of like showing how like Kong is clearly like a I love that yes they sized Kong up significantly since Skull Island,
Hmm.
but he's still considerably smaller than Godzilla. But I love that they show how crafty he really like show him being crafty and
Oh no, we've had a catastrophe.
oh no. Uh, yeah, and I do also love how it kind of plays into both of their like animalistic natures of like you get Kong like swinging around the buildings, and you
Yeah.
get you know like there's a couple times like Godzilla like it's really cool like the way he'll like bite at Kong. He like he doesn't just bite it. He almost like zeroes in just like a snake or like
Hmm.
a lizard does.
Yeah.
And I thought those were awesome. And this leads to the third and final that I know of the third and final reference to the original Godzilla vs King Kong. Do you
Is
think
it?
you know it?
I'm assuming it has something to do with like the staff, like not the staff, the axe, and like there being light involved with it, kind of signifying the lightning of the original one.
So that's very close. It does have to do with the
Oh,
axe. It's when Godzilla is about to shoot him with the fire breath, and he shoves the handle of
oh, the
it down the
tree,
throat.
the
Yeah,
tree. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And which I thought was an awesome. Like
Yeah.
it to me again goes to show like both of these monsters. And anytime you want to cut in, cut in.
Okay.
Um, both these creatures like being smarter than maybe we would give them credit for. Of
Yeah.
like, a Kong goes to do the usual like ripping over open Godzilla's jaws, and Godzilla immediately starts spamming his atomic breath so he can't keep
Right.
his hands in there. Oh, but then that's when Kong Godzilla goes to shoot him with the atomic breath, and Kong shoves
The
the
staff.
the
No,
staff the
not the
axe
staff. The
the
axe.
axe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called a lynx in England, down his throat.
That's
That's
right.
not. Do you get it? Do you get what I'm saying there?
I must have missed it.
Oh, and so axe spray, body spray in England is called lynx. But anyway,
Oh,
what other scenes would you? Is there any other specific like? I'm kind of going over all the moves on my end here. What moves from this did you like?
I think just I don't know. I mean, I want to give a shout out to the choreography itself. I think it's just done super well, and I like how like the camera like will follow. And what like the scene when Godzilla is like on all fours, like nipping at Kong as
Yeah,
he's backing up, like the camera kind of follows and tracks as it goes, which is
yeah,
cool. And then I love when like Godzilla shoots his breath, and you're following that around the city a little ways, and then he
yeah,
finally gets Kong with it, and then he kind of laughs in a way, like he kind of just has that like subtle, like
yeah.
it goes to his face, and he kind of laughs, and then like, he keeps shooting and keeps shooting and keeps shooting. Um, I don't know. I don't have like a specific.
Uh, I did partake. Another thing I want to give a shout out to for the little biting things is when he like Kong kicks at him, like kicks Godzilla in the face, and Godzilla lashes onto the foot
Oh yeah.
and rings him around to like throw
Oh
him into
yeah.
a building.
Yeah.
I thought was just
But doesn't just
tough.
throw him into a building, like throws him across the city into a
Yeah,
building.
it's it's tough, and that's what like
Yeah.
dislocates his shoulder and
Yeah.
everything. I think that might have been like because somewhere in here, like I guess Kong gets like the best of Godzilla for a moment there, and like that's when they like you get Alexander Skarsgård, who's finally made his way up to the surface. Is like, oh, round two goes to Kong,
Right.
which I guess I actually want to give another shout out to. I love how when every fight ends, it almost ends like the end of like a Mortal Kombat or like a fighting game. Of you get that pose from like you get the first pose of Godzilla in the ocean when he's got looks real nasty. You get the pose of like Kong like brushing the dirt off his shoulder and disappearing into the debris,
Oh yeah.
and then when this fight ends, and there's a couple when this fight ends, you get Kong or not Kong, Godzilla just roaring like a motherfucker, and then the Mecha Godzilla fight, which we'll get into in just a second.
Yeah.
But I did like that. I thought that was a pretty kind of fitting into the motif of the tournament bracket at the of the opening credits. Kind of like I thought was. I don't know if Adam Wingard like meant for it to be that exactly, but I just got that vibe from it of like.
Yeah. It does tie together nicely if you
Mhm,
think about it in that light. So I think that is pretty cool.
mhm.
And then he does just kind of like he's established his victory, and then is done with Kong and goes on about his business to what he was doing originally.
Yeah, 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 and yeah, I thought like I especially I thought that the ending of the fight was awesome. That like that's kind of when he starts really getting into the more, I guess, lizardy parts of like just like scratching the heck out of his
Yeah.
his chest and all that. I thought that was really cool. And then I love, you know, I already taught kind of just spoke about, but the stomping on the chest and
Mm-hmm.
roaring in his face and just forcing Kong to submit was such a like. I love that they had him outright win
I like that a lot too. Yeah.
because I think any movie nowadays would have like some kind of like, well, he won because of this, or like if you go back to the original Godzilla vs Kong, the rumor was for the longest time like in Japan Godzilla wins and in America King Kong won,
Yeah.
whereas like that's been disproven since, and like if you watch the original now, it kind of ends ambiguously of like Kong's walking away in the ocean, but then you hear Godzilla roar, very ambiguous in terms of I guess the ending.
Yeah.
But this one, outright, Godzilla wins and just screams in Kong's face, and it's such an awesome moment.
Yeah.
Um,
And
okay.
it's interesting, I guess, like why he didn't kill him in that moment. Like because up to that point, like any other Titan that he's had to dismantle like that, like he has just done away with him at that point. But like for some reason, he let Kong.
Well, because I think it is Kong relented because Kong did start to
I
like
mean, I guess that, yeah.
fight and just lean back and relented, and like it seemed like King Kong was dying
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah. Because then he had to get some emergency, not CPR, but had to have his
Heart
defibrillator.
started.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Which is kind of, I was thinking about that in that scene. Like, he's had his tooth repaired, he's been defibrillated, he's had his shoulder reset, which he did himself.
yeah. Which that
Which is kind
was
of interesting.
yeah, which
But
we'll get into that in a second. But like, so this leads into Godzilla kind of refocuses because again, it wasn't Kong that attracted him to Hong Kong. He felt the again spirit, spiritual presence of another, this turns out to be again Mecha Godzilla. And this is when, as soon as Kong is out, they fire up Mecha Godzilla, uh, and this is a really cool scene because it turns out we kind of skipped past it. Uh, the way they're controlling Mechagodzilla is through like a telepathic pathway, is what they're saying, through King Ghidorah's skull, which I thought was a really cool kind of concept, kind of I think basing off of of Godzilla against Mechagodzilla,
mhm.
of using the old Godzilla bones to structure Mechagodzilla, kind of referencing that, and then King Ghidorah's nature taking over the control of Mechagodzilla, I thought was a really cool
Yeah.
reveal. And then you get the entrance of Mechagodzilla, which I've already spoken about how much I love arrival scenes. And there's probably nothing cooler than blowing up a mountain to make your entrance. But I guess we didn't talk. We haven't talked about it yet. What do you think about the actual like? What do you think of this version of Mechagodzilla?
I'm gonna be real honest. I hate this Mechagodzilla.
Really?
Like, I don't like that it's in the movie. I
Really?
don't like the design of it. I don't enjoy this. Um, I don't know why, but like that Mechagodzilla is probably that's the reason I didn't go back and watch this movie. Probably after like
Hmm.
my initial viewing of it in the theater, like I just didn't enjoy that plot line throughout the movie. Like it's so obvious from like the initial like, oh, Apex Cybernetics, like at the very beginning of the movie, like, okay, it's like it's just, I don't know. And I guess like because I've been on this stint for a while of like not watching trailers or anything for a long
Uh-huh.
time now, and like so I didn't watch trailers for this movie, uh, but so I didn't really know what was gonna happen because there's so much revealed in trailers.
Hmm.
But anyway, yeah, it just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of ruined any anticipation for me, I guess, like in the movie, like at the start of it, because it's like, oh, Apex Cybernetics, Godzilla, Mecha Godzilla, at the very start of the movie, and it was like,
I
okay, well, that's the inciting incident for the movie. Like, it just kind of it put me off personally, and then I don't like the design, and then I
uh
don't like the fight either.
okay.
So
Well, so to start, I don't like the design. I'll give you that. I think the design is like it looks like cheaply. I don't like that it looks is it's scrap metally, is what it
yeah,
looks like.
yeah,
It's very like it feels like Mecha Godzilla, but like Iron Giant. Definitely my least favorite of the Mecha Godzilla designs. I'll give you that. Um, I will be honest. This may be I'm just bad at picking up on these things. Didn't know it. My
Oh,
first
really?
time watching it didn't like pick up on that like maybe it was just like that initial like your initial viewing, you're just kind of taking in everything at once, you're not really focusing on anything. Yeah, I didn't know this was building up to
Okay.
Mecha Godzilla. I think I had heard rumors beforehand, but then I was like, I don't this was I didn't really know for sure because yeah, like you, I didn't really watch any trailers or anything like that.
Yeah.
um but yeah, I still liked it. I really like that it was an inclusion because I also think it's a really cool. Also think they did it as a little bit of a reference because like one of the King Kong Toho movies, he fights Mecha
Mecha
Kong
Kong,
too.
yeah.
So I think it was a bit of a reference to that.
Yeah.
I do, the fight is definitely not as good as the fight we get versus between Godzilla and King Kong.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'll give you that. But I still ultimately I enjoyed it. I thought the build up, I thought the reveal was really cool. I thought kind of using that storyline from against Godzilla against Mecha Godzilla was a really cool kind of bringing that to this series, uh, and ultimately it kind of gets us the team up
It does, which is
of
the whole point of it.
yeah.
So I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm probably being too hard on it.
Listen, if this is your
But
Godzilla 2014, I get it. Uh, but so, and I do think there are a few moments in that fight with Godzilla, uh, the Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla part of it that I want to call out specifically. Like, I love the scene where the camera's inside just like this office, and you get Mechagodzilla smashes Godzilla's head into one building,
right,
smashes it into another, and then you get the full on like him smashing it into the camera.
right.
I thought was a really cool scene.
Yeah, no, that
Um,
was cool.
and then I did love it when you finally get Kong into the fight. He, resets his own shoulder
It's
like he's John McClane.
cool.
And then I love that shot um, of him just leaping out of nowhere, grabbing like the jaws of Mechagodzilla and rearing back as he's like, and you get the like red. I don't know if it's atomic breath, but the death ray
Yeah,
like through the sky. I thought was a really cool imagery. Uh, Again, I don't think this fight's as strong as the Godzilla versus Kong one, but I do still really like it. I do still like some of the details of like uh, you know Kong and Godzilla like each taking one side, and then
mhm,
leading to just really cool imagery of Kong eventually like beheading
yeah,
Mecha Godzilla and holding
yeah,
the thing again. Leading into into
yeah,
the fight video game screen,
yeah.
like a Mortal Kombat fatality of holding it above him. I thought that was really cool.
It is cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like it
I feel like
serves
I'm winning you over on this one.
no, like it serves a really good. It serves the inciting like incident in the story like to unite them. It does a very good job at that. I also think like I don't like how like one sided the Mechagodzilla fight is until Kong gets involved, which I know is like it has to be because otherwise Kong wouldn't be needed in the fight. There wouldn't be a
Right.
point for that. But like my God, my boy gets massacred.
But like to be
It's
fair,
like
he has the excuse of he would just fought for seemingly hours because the Kong
yeah,
fight went from the dead of middle of the night to the morning apparently. Uh,
yeah, apparently.
and
But
yeah,
I
but
don't know. I don't know. I just it sucks seeing my boy get massacred like that.
I don't disagree, but
But
like again, I still like to fight.
yeah,
Uh,
let me kind of restructure my argument a little bit. Not argument, my point a little bit. I really strongly dislike the fight up until the point when Kong comes in.
yeah,
Then it's fun at that point because then it is cool to see Godzilla and Kong team up on Godzilla. Like there's no one can like you can't see that
yeah,
and not enjoy that, and especially when Kong gets the axe and then he goes to kicking his ass.
oh yeah,
That's really cool. So
and when he finally gets it like fully powered up and just
yeah,
hacking away,
yeah,
it is really cool. And again, like I love seeing the way they have Kong fight in these
yeah,
movies, like how
absolutely.
I used the word crafty earlier, just how crafty he is to figuring things out and I love that kind of running theme. Same with Godzilla, like both of them, like I guess learning as they go with these fights, I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
And one thing I did end up looking up that I thought was interesting is it turned for this Kong had a mocap, had someone do motion capture. Nobody did motion capture for either Godzilla or Mechagodzilla. And I don't know
Really?
why. I don't know if it was like based off of like their their movements are a little bit more fluid than
Hmm.
Kong's, but or it could just be like they did mocap for like Kong's more stationary, like the walking through,
That could be.
scratching his
Yeah.
butt type stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, and pretty much that's the movie. I
Nice.
guess after the beheading, Kong and Godzilla kind of have a little bit of a standoff, but Kong ultimately relents and drops the axe and kind of gives props to Godzilla, and Godzilla you know walks off into the ocean, and we get another awesome like I just love anytime we get a silhouette of Godzilla. You get the silhouette of
Yeah.
Godzilla in the sun with the spikes. It just looks cool every time.
Yeah.
And yeah, like we said, that's the plot. So now we're kind of getting into the final thoughts. Any last things we want to say or talk about, and then we'll go ahead and rank this son of a bitch. So I guess I'll start. One final thought I did want to have is like we talked about music a lot in King of the Monsters. We talked about music a lot in Kong and Skull Island. We didn't talk about music a lot here because there's really not a lot to talk about music wise. I don't even think I remember. Like I'm sure they use the Godzilla theme song, but not significantly. Um,
Yeah, it's in a couple of the scenes, the themes, but it's kind of a subtle
yeah,
thing. It's not very prominent, which is okay. I mean,
yeah. I just kind of wish they had, you know, brought Bear McCreary back for this. Obviously,
yeah,
he probably was busy with like I know. Um, he was probably around when Sam was working on God of War Ragnarok too, uh, other stuff there. But I just would have loved to see him back for this because I did really love
yeah,
that score. And then yeah, ultimately, like I said, plot wise, this is probably easily the most forgettable of all the Legendary series because like you don't even get the awesome line of like you have absolute killer actors in here in this
mm-hmm.
movie and you're doing nothing with them. You don't even get the like in 2014 you at least had Bryan Cranston giving the awesome like and I have a right to know.
Yeah.
You get none of that other than like Gia, this 8-year-old deaf girl in this is her first acting credit,
Oh
does the
wow,
best in this movie
that's
and is
crazy.
the most compelling character in this movie and everybody else just sucks. But with that, you probably have the best fight in the series.
Right, right.
So I guess what are your final thoughts or
Um,
anything you want to add to that?
yeah. I mean, I guess I would kind of echo that in the same light that like I don't really have much to say about the human cast or the storyline overall that I haven't said already. I guess like
Yeah,
it's definitely my least favorite uh, storyline in the
yeah.
series, but I think like the action scenes for the most part are honestly probably some of the best and the most enjoyable. And like the fights between Godzilla and Kong are just they're great. And like I have gone back and I've watched them. Like when I go down like a YouTube rabbit hole of random shit, like that's some of the things that I found myself watching from time to time, like the boat, the ship scene, or
Hmm.
like their initial Hong Kong fight. I enjoy those a lot. They're done super well. But outside of those, like it kind of feels like I'm waiting in a 2 hour. I'm in a 2 hour waiting period to like see a couple,
Hmm.
fights. So that's I don't know. This is probably my least favorite of the.
Well, I guess
But
with that, let's start getting into the rankings. So, uh,
surprise.
right now, the ranking we have it at number 3 right now. In last place is Godzilla 2014. Number 2 is Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire, and all the way at number 1 is Godzilla King of the Monsters. I guess Wyatt, it sounds like you have your thought or your ranking for this one.
Yeah, yeah. This is my least favorite.
So this one I am actually having a tough time with
Oh really?
because this feels like has like all the complaints I have about 2014. I'm having again here.
Mm.
Of like the action is awesome, um, the the action is awesome. I do like the scaling. Like in this one, we do. I think we've mentioned you do lose a lot of the scaling in this movie that 2014 does so well, but man, this one's tough for me because I actually don't like. Again, I feel like they have a lot of the same issues, but I think ultimately part of me likes to rewatch this movie more because I think the action scenes that we do get, I think are feel fuller and feel more complete,
That's
whereas
yeah,
we're not cutting away as much. So I think for me, this ultimately like my heart kind of is leaning towards number 3 for this.
mm, that's fair.
So
That's fair.
with that, this is the first conflict me and Y have had in our rankings because usually so far we've agreed on everything. It sounds like.
Sounds like yeah.
So we need to figure out how we're going to because there's only 2 of us, as I'm sure you've noticed, and so a tie in voting is very easy to come across. So Wyatt, how do you want to handle this? Do you want to try to convince me? So here's how we're going to decide this for right now. We are going to just simply have a game of rock, paper, and scissors. Whoever wins gets the higher ranking. So, like, if I win, Godzilla versus Kong is number 3. If you win, Godzilla versus Kong is number 3. 4. Oh, okay. All right. So ready. So this is we're no best 2 out of 3. This is rock, paper, scissors. Now, are we adults or are we children?
Well, we obviously go on shoot, so whatever that means.
That means we're adults.
Okay.
Okay. Ready. Rock. Oh, fuck. All right.
It's off to a great
Yeah.
start.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
I thank you.
All right. So, our new ranking is number 4, Godzilla versus Kong. At 3rd place with the bronze medal still is Godzilla 2014. Number 2, Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. And number 1, still Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Woo!
And that's our Godzilla vs. Kong review. Unfortunately, the camera died before we could finish the video, so I'm cutting here and here with kind of just a bit of a scheduling update, just to let you guys know what's up. So for the next Godzilla movie, we are going to go all the way back to the original 1954 Godzilla. We're going to start with the uncut Japanese version and work our way through the Toho series from there. With that, I do want to let you know it's going to be a bit of a longer break between videos because, as you can tell, we are trying to work on a little bit of a set and get more of a private space, so there's not as much or as many interruptions as there have been in the previous videos, which obviously has its charm, but after a while it can get a little bit more disruptive than we would hope. So with that, that does not mean there's not videos coming your way. We have a few different, couple different bonus videos, so please stay tuned. Please watch out for the channel as we kind of upload those, and we'll keep you guys posted as we continue the series. So thank you for watching along so far if you have, and if you haven't, please join us for the rest of the journey as we go through every single Godzilla movie in the franchise to determine which one truly is king of them all.